All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are looking at this really interesting idea of strong culture and weak culture.
Okay.
And our source material is a collection of documents with pretty interesting titles, I have to say.
Yeah.
O3 sent to TPF through O5 DTTTF, the PDF.
Right.
And I'm told this translates roughly to strong culture manuscript notes.
Yes.
So these notes analyze these concepts, drawing on examples from Chinese history and philosophy, and even a popular TV show.
That's right.
Really interesting stuff. So I guess to kick things off, what exactly do these sources mean by strong culture versus weak culture? How do they define these terms?
Well, strong culture, it's presented as a way of life that's aligned with objective truth.
Oh,
You
cool.
know, sort of like living in harmony with the laws of nature.
Hmm.
It emphasizes self-reliance and facing challenges, head on and developing inner strength.
Yeah.
Weak culture, on the other hand, is characterized by a reliance on things like superstition or fate,
Hmm.
seeking favors or shortcuts.
Uh-huh.
It suggests that this reliance on external forces can ultimately lead to, well, weakness.
Interesting. So it's about kind of building resilience from within, not relying on outside help. Is that right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I mean, that's a pretty universal concept, right?
Right.
Not necessarily tied to any specific culture.
Yeah, absolutely. And to illustrate these concepts, they use all these, really interesting examples. We've got historical figures like Fan Zhongyan,
Oh, yeah.
known for his stoicism and, his dedication to serving the people.
Right.
And then get this, they even use anecdotes from a TV show called Pen or Way of Heaven, which apparently explores these philosophical concepts.
Wow, a TV show.
Hmm.
That's pretty cool. But, I have to say, the idea that certain cultures are inherently strong or weak feels a little oversimplified. Like,
Yeah.
aren't we talking about kind of universal human tendencies here?
That's a good point. And the source does acknowledge this, actually. It argues that attributing these so-called weaknesses solely to one specific culture or tradition, that misses the bigger picture, like
Yeah.
greed and jealousy and the desire for, quick fixes. Those are human flaws. I mean, they're found across cultures throughout history, right?
That's true. So less about labeling entire cultures and more about understanding these tendencies within ourselves, regardless of where we come from.
Yeah, exactly. And it challenges us to look, a little deeper.
Hmm.
The source points to the incredible resilience of Chinese civilization. I mean, it's thrived for centuries despite facing, countless challenges.
Right.
And they argue that this survival might actually be attributed to qualities often associated with Taoist philosophy,
Mm.
adaptability, humility, and the ability to, bend like a reed in the wind.
So what we might see as a weakness in one context could actually be a strength in another.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, that's interesting. And this all ties into the idea of cultural attributes, right?
Right. The source describes cultural attributes as deeply ingrained values and behaviors that kind of shape our destinies, often unconsciously.
Like an invisible script.
Yeah, like an invisible script influencing our actions and reactions.
And that can be really powerful.
It is. They use the example of China's official-centric culture,
Correct.
where there's this strong emphasis on authority and hierarchy.
Gosh.
And you can see this cultural attribute, in everything from family dynamics to business negotiations.
Wow.
They even tell this story about, a county magistrate to illustrate just how deeply embedded these attributes can be in, everyday life.
So we're talking about forces that shape, entire societies.
Mhm.
But how do these concepts play out on an individual level?
Right.
How can understanding these, cultural attributes, whether strong or weak, how can that actually help someone in their own lives?
That's where things get really interesting, and we'll dive deeper into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But before we move on, I'm curious, have you ever noticed yourself acting in a certain way and wondered, where did that come from?
Mm.
Maybe it was a reaction to a situation or a decision you made or even a deeply held belief.
That's a great question to reflect on. I know I've definitely had moments where I felt like I was kind of on autopilot, like reacting in a way that didn't fully align with my conscious intentions.
Hold on to those thoughts because we're going to be exploring how to identify and potentially challenge those ingrained patterns in the next part of our deep dive.
That sounds good. Welcome back. So I'm really curious to explore this idea of how these cultural attributes can actually play out in our lives,
Okay.
especially when it comes to things like, success and personal fulfillment.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Well, the source, it really gets into this by critiquing what they call marketplace culture, which they see as a very prominent example of weak culture.
Mm-hmm.
They describe it as being obsessed with instant gratification and profits, often liking any kind of, long-term vision or concern for broader consequences.
So kind of like that always chasing the next big thing mentality. I mean, we see that everywhere, right?
Exactly, yeah. From social media trends to, investment bubbles.
Yeah.
Everybody's looking for that quick win, that quick buck.
Right.
And the source argues that this constant pursuit of, short-term gains can actually be detrimental, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole. It
Right.
creates a system where sustainability and ethics and even, the well-being of others often take a backseat to, maximizing profits.
Yeah, it's like that saying, easy come, easy go.
Uh-huh.
Like if we're always looking for those shortcuts, we might miss out on the deeper rewards.
Right.
The rewards that come from, sustained effort and a commitment to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, I like that connection.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And it seems like they're kind of suggesting that there's a certain arrogance in thinking that we can, outsmart the natural order of things. Like real lasting success, it comes from playing the long game, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Focusing on personal growth, building a strong foundation, that kind of thing.
It's about understanding those, laws of nature.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's more about playing by the rules of the game rather than trying to, hack the system.
Exactly.
And this brings us back to the distinction between formal logic and dialectical logic, right? How do those concepts fit into this whole idea of marketplace culture?
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah.
So remember, formal logic is all about, fixed rules and categories.
Right, black and white thinking.
Black and white thinking, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's very much, the dominant mode of thinking in a marketplace culture where
Right.
everything is measured in terms of, profit and loss, success and failure.
Yeah, right.
It's like, trying to force the complexities of life into a spreadsheet.
Exactly. This is good, this is bad.
Right.
This is profitable, this is not.
Yeah, exactly.
But that kind of rigid thinking, I mean, it can be incredibly limiting, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Formal logic, it really struggles to account for nuance and change and the, interconnectedness of things.
Right.
Dialectical logic, on the other hand, it embraces those contradictions.
Okay.
It recognizes that things are constantly in flux.
Yeah.
It's much more, dynamic and adaptable.
So in a marketplace culture, where formal logic is king, you're always trying to fit yourself into a predetermined box.
Right.
But with dialectical logic, it's like you allow yourself to, evolve,
Exactly.
see things from multiple perspectives, adapt to, changing circumstances.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the source argues that this kind of, flexibility, this open-mindedness, it's essential for navigating the complexities of the modern world. It's about being able to hold multiple truths at once, to, see the gray areas and to adapt your approach as needed.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced situations where, clinging to rigid beliefs or strategies, it just doesn't work.
Right.
You have to be willing to, shift your perspective to find a better solution.
That's when the source's emphasis on understanding cultural attributes becomes, really powerful. Once we recognize these deeply ingrained patterns of behavior, the ones that are often operating, below our conscious awareness, we can start to question them, challenge them, and ultimately choose the ones that serve us best.
It's almost like becoming aware of the source code that's running in the background of our lives. Once you see it, you can rewrite it,
I like that analogy. That's good.
Yeah.
It's about reclaiming our agency, shaping our destinies. And speaking of shaping destinies, the source points to a fascinating historical example. The rebellion led by Chen Sheng and Wu Guang in ancient China.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, powerful figures who led an uprising against, a corrupt dynasty.
Right.
But the source argues that their ultimate downfall came from seeking change solely through external forces without, truly transforming themselves.
So even in a revolution, it's not enough to just change the system.
Right.
You have to change yourself as well.
Yeah, it's an inside-out kind of transformation.
That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way before.
Has there ever been a time in your life where you were trying to change something external
Hmm.
without realizing that, you needed to change something within yourself?
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah.
I think we all have those moments.
And that's precisely what we're going to explore further in our final segment.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll delve into some concluding thoughts from the source material
Mm.
and leave you with some powerful questions to, reflect on.
Welcome back. We've covered so much in this deep dive, exploring all these ideas of strong culture and weak culture.
Yeah, a lot to think about.
It's really got me thinking about, those unseen forces that are shaping our lives.
It really is a journey. And I think as we wrap up, one of the most powerful takeaways, at least for me, is this idea that true freedom,
Mm.
it comes from recognizing and then transcending those limiting cultural attributes that hold us back, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, it's funny because I used to think of freedom as this external thing, like,
Yeah.
once I achieve X, Y, and Z, then I'll be free.
Yeah.
But what you're saying is it's more of an internal shift.
Hmm.
It's about breaking free from those unconscious patterns that keep us, playing small.
Absolutely. The source suggests that it's when we shed those limitations,
Mm.
those outdated beliefs, those fear-based reactions,
Right.
that's when we can really tap into our innate strength
Mm.
and create a life that's truly aligned with our values, our potential.
That takes courage, though, right? To look inward and actually challenge those patterns, even if they've been, passed down for generations.
It does.
Yeah.
But the rewards, they're immense.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's about reclaiming our agency, becoming, conscious creators of our own destinies.
That's a great way to put it. And they leave us with this really thought-provoking question. If our destinies are shaped by these cultural attributes,
Right.
how can we, identify and challenge the ones that aren't serving us?
It really invites you to look inward, doesn't it?
It does.
It asks us to become more mindful, of our thoughts, our reactions, our choices,
Mm.
and ask ourselves, where did this come from? Is this really serving me? Or is this something I need to let go of?
As we've been talking about all of this, I keep thinking back to the example of marketplace culture
Mm-hmm.
and how it can trap us in this cycle of instant gratification.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever noticed yourself getting caught up in that?
Oh, of course.
Always chasing the next shiny object without stopping to ask, is this what I really want?
It's so easy to get swept up in that, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Comparing ourselves to others,
Mhm.
feeling like we're always falling behind.
Yeah, always behind.
It's a trap.
And it seems like the source is suggesting that the antidote to that marketplace culture mentality
Mm-hmm.
is to cultivate, that strong culture within ourselves.
Right.
To connect with those deeper values of self-reliance,
Exactly.
long-term vision, and, a commitment to something greater than ourselves.
It's a journey.
It is.
And it requires a different kind of logic, moving beyond that rigid black and white thinking.
The formal logic.
Yeah, the formal logic, and embracing the fluidity, the complexity of dialectical logic.
Yeah, seeing the world in shades of gray, recognizing that things are constantly changing and evolving, and being willing to, adapt our approach accordingly.
This has been a fascinating exploration of these concepts.
It really has.
I hope it sparked some, curiosity in our listeners.
Me too.
Maybe even inspired you to do your own deep dive.
Yeah.
Into some of these ideas from, Chinese history or philosophy or even that TV show we mentioned.
It's all about continuing the exploration.
Right. Absolutely.
So as you go about your day, pay attention to those moments where you feel those cultural attributes at play.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, are they serving me?
Am I growing?
Yeah, am I growing? Am I becoming the best version of myself? Or are they holding me back?
It's a powerful question.
It is.
The answers, they might just unlock a whole new level of freedom and fulfillment in your life.
That would be amazing.
And remember, it's not about judging any culture as, inherently strong or weak.
Right.
It's about recognizing the interplay of these forces within ourselves, within our communities, within our world. Even it's about becoming more conscious creators of our own lives and contributing to a world that's a little bit more aligned with those deeper values of, wisdom, compassion, connectedness.
Well said. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.